The thing is, you can't fix a sport like football. The concussion is happening because of the brain gets rattled inside the skull. All of our technology exists to protect your body externally. That's my point. That's my point. Like, look at Herschel Walker, man. Like, yeah, I hate Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker is a piece of shit, but his brain is mush. His brain is completely mush. How much is it this guy's fault? I don't know.
You know that Bible passage, do unto others as Herschel Walker would not do unto you. That's right. Herschel Walker has reached a new low, which is saying a lot for his campaign. He was at a rally in Calhoun, Georgia, and he said this about trans kids. He said, when I get to heaven, I want the Lord to recognize me, because I can tell you right now, they're telling young kids in school, you can be a boy tomorrow, even if you're a girl. But I want the young kids to know you go to heaven. Jesus may not recognize you because he made you a boy, he made you a girl. Why are we talking about things like that? Okay, now I know none of that actually makes sense, but so we have to put it through the little like Herschel Walker translator machine, and it comes out as, if you're trans, you're not going to heaven. That's effectively what that word salad means and meant. And it's not the first time he's demonized trans kids. Of course, he's
unrelated. Mike, I just accepted a new job helping people with Parkinson's walk again, but I will miss watching your streams every day. Gonna have a YouTube Andy. Hell yeah, dude. I mean, don't forget, you can watch streams in an audio only mode. So you could basically make the stream in kind of like a podcast. If you're just, puttering around doing other work, you could still watch the stream in audio only mode. It's amazing. I try to make that doable for the people who do that. If Tua was white, he wasn't going in. They sacrificed black players in the NFL. 100,000% sounds plausible to me.
He's running as a Republican in the 2022 midterms. He's got to touch that button. Here he is, once again, talking about trans kids.
Men shouldn't be in women's sport. That's easy to know. Men shouldn't be in women's sport. I'm going to answer a question that has been asked. Y'all seen it. I know what a woman is. It's written in the Bible. She's from the rib of a man. There's man and there's woman. That's it. There ain't another. So quick.
I legitimately wonder if people like Herschel Walker think that the English language was handed down to us by God. Like, does he believe like English was good enough for Jesus? It's good enough for me. Like, do you think he knows why it's called English? Also, wasn't the NFL using junk science until like a year ago, stating that black players have lower IQ as to deny them disability? Yes.
We're trying to create it. And I'm going to answer another thing for you. A man can't get pregnant. I don't know why they're even talking about that.
I mean, like, the thing is, like, you have to understand something about the conservative brain that sets them apart from most of you is if a conservative hasn't heard of something, if a conservative is like, huh, that sounds weird, their first emotion, okay, this is a very bad pause. I'm sorry. I can't pause. I can't do her like that. I can't do Fran like that. When they encounter something like a trans man, their reaction is always going to be fear and disgust because the amygdala part of their brain is large. The fear, their a propensity to feel fear and disgust is actually more pronounced than your brain. So they don't have that mental ability to do empathy. Empathy is a feeling of the prefrontal cortex. It's a higher order brain function. And for conservatives, that part of their brain is atrophied. That part of their brain is atrophied. They feel fear more intensely and more often than you do. That is science. Is it true that biblical angels are just an amalgamation of wings, eyes, and genitalia, that God only recognizes us by what remains after our bushes burn away? It depends upon what angels you're talking about, Obanyaya, and exactly what tradition of angelology, I think is what it's called, you're going by. It actually depends on, there's different choirs, they're called, or orders of angels according to various traditions. And some of them are really creepy, weird shit. The only thing I ever got scared of is aliens when I was 8 because my idiot father showed me the chest buster. Oh, you mean Alien? The movie? Your father is a man of culture. I'm glad that you watched that. The one thing that makes NFL situation worse is the fact that no players are calling the NFL out and just saying, pray for X player. They probably can't. It's probably in their contract that they'll get like fined basically or in deep trouble. You have to understand that the NFL is definitely a good old boys club. Just being good at the sport is not enough, right? Just scoring touchdowns or making big blocks isn't enough. Like it's a good old boys club, and they will get rid of anybody who causes harm to the league.
And I'm gonna answer another thing for you. A man can't get pregnant. I don't know why they're even talking about that.
So that's more generalized transphobia. This is someone, again.
The NFL Player Association is the weakest of all major athletic unions, whereas Major League Baseball has the strongest. The NFL, the NBA and the NHL are the middling union strength. But the NFL Players Union has been called a company union before. Like it's actually subservient to the owners. So, and it's because, how do I say this without being anti-Southerner? It's because of the South. The Southern teams scab, and don't, show solidarity with the rest of the league. One of the major unions, one of the major NFL strikes, we've covered it before because it's very based. But what ended in defeat is because players, especially in the Dallas Cowboys, scabbed the league, meaning they crossed the picket line. What determines union strength behind numbers comes down to who they have in leadership. Well, union strength really means one of two things. A, proven economic power. B, willingness to hold picket line until victory, right? So a union is strong if they have strong militant leadership, and B, they have a rank and file that's willing to hold the picket line. So like, if you don't have both of those things, obviously C, A, B, and C being preparation, right? How well prepared is the union to strike at any given point?
Second time using religion, his own interpretation of his religion. The woman came from the rib of a man, but transgender people don't exist. Okay, buddy. I'm super on board with what you have to say. Cenk, I want to get your thoughts, but before I do, one last thing, because this is not the only time he's used religion. Recently, in response to Reverend Warnock, Senator Warnock's campaign ad bringing up his history of domestic violence, Herschel Walker's history of domestic violence, he was asked, what does he think about that? What does he think about his past being brought up in a campaign ad like that?
Solidarity needs to be molded by the union, though, as well. A distant union means non-engaged members. Oh, absolutely, 100%. I agree with that completely. So, like, I don't expect people to know all the aspects of solidarity and union organizing and knowledge of how of a union culture, but that's all of our responsibility. All of us have a responsibility to help create a union culture together. And part of that is being uncompromising about picket lines and not trying to find excuses for why it's okay.
That here he is.
Thank you, Carbon D-Metric, for the
without sin cast the first stone. And does my opponent believe in redemption, who's been a pastor? That's what's so funny.
So forgive me. Oh my gosh, if you're a pastor, forgive me, because my religion says that if you're trans, you're going to hell. And if I abuse somebody in a relationship, i.e. held a gun to my ex-wife's head, which is what he is alleged to have done, just forgive me. At least I'm not trans.
Yeah, I think it was the Republican Accountability PAC that ran that ad, not Senator Warnock. But either way,
thank you,
yeah. But either way, it's the same point. And so, all right, let's break this down. First of all, I'm amused that Herschel Walker thinks that Jesus is the Mr. Magoo of prophets. He's like, I can't figure out who you are. I'm so confused.
Right, I can't see.
Yeah, wait. I thought God was omniscient. So God's not omniscient? God doesn't know everything. He's just like, I can't. Ooh, you changed a little bit. You know what? I'm in big trouble because
Does it smell like a boy or smell like a girl?
Yeah, he's like, what is that? I can't quite tell. Man, you got a super low opinion of Jesus, that's for sure. Okay, and I'm in a lot of trouble because I don't look anything like I did in high school. Okay, I put on a lot of weight. So Jesus is gonna be like, no, I can't tell who this guy is at all. Okay, maybe that'll help me. So look, I make fun of it, but now let's get serious. So look, thousands of kids have taken their lives because of this kind of bullying, this pressure of, oh, if you're gay, God doesn't love you, we don't love you, we hate you, etc. But the one that really sticks in my mind, and I bring him up all the time, is Eli Fritchley. He was 12 years old. He was in Tennessee, loved to wear SpongeBob SquarePants shirts, and the kids in his school made fun of him all the time because they thought he was gay, until he killed himself, and he's dead now. That's what hate leads to. And they know that. It's in the stats, it's in the anecdotes, it's in everything, right?
Yep.
And they look at it and they go, I don't really care about those kids. By the way, the same people who would call themselves pro-life. Oh, thousands of kids are going to take their lives because we told them that God hates them and won't even recognize them. I don't care. Who cares? How's my poll numbers doing? Are my hateful supporters rallying around my cause because I decided to pick on children? So Herschel Walker's funny because he's one of the dumbest people in America, and every time he speaks, it's a hilarious word salad. And then we try to figure out what it is, and we use Francesca's translating machine, boop, 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 and all that stuff, right? But at the same time, don't forget that these right-wingers are actually terrible people, like deeply immoral people. They pick on children for their own benefit. They're disgusting.
And they also lie about children. They lie about, like, the trans women in sports thing is one of the most bad faith things I've ever seen in my life. And I think it's a good way of telling if you're an intelligence. If you're an intelligent person, if you have any kind of basic intelligence, is whether you fell for the trans women in sports lie. The Republican governor of Utah vetoed a bill about trans women in sports because he said there were like 3 trans women that have ever played sports in a high school in Utah. That it was a non-issue, that it was made up. And people are out here having debates over it and shit, pretending it's a thing. You have like 1 or 2 high-profile trans athletes, none of which are winning any important competitions. And even if they did, so what? 1 or 2 competitions got won by a trans person. And? Well, Mike, that's not fair. They have a physical advantage. That's what sports is. That's what it is. It's not fair. I can't play in the NBA. I'm not tall enough. Unfair. Everybody forced LeBron James to play on his knees so we're the same height. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And what's really funny to me is the idea that somebody would change their gender for the purpose of competition. Our transphobic society that despises trans people, that calls them pedophiles, which assaults them in the street, who murders them constantly. Trans women are murdered constantly at a much higher rate than other subgroups in this society. Yeah, people are exposing themselves to international hate mobs so they can win their high school track and field meet. The fuck is wrong with you?
If anyone isn't getting into heaven, it's Herschel Walker. Jesus would vomit all over Herschel Walker before they sent him down to hell, because that's where he belongs. So you're gonna be—
Here's a great example. In 2008, the cis girl on the left came in 8th in a high school track event. The trans girl on the right came in 1st. The cis girl went on to earn 5 state titles, qualify for nationals 3 times, and now runs Division 1. The trans girl was pushed out of sports altogether. Guess who's suing who? Selena Sole, the cis woman who now runs for Florida Atlantic University, has worked with an anti-trans Alliance Defending Freedom to sue Connecticut and oppose the participation of trans girls across the country. 18 states in all have banned trans athletes. In their complaint, Soleil and 2 other cisgender girls allege they are irreparably harmed by the mere existence of female athletes who are transgender, regardless of testosterone levels, muscle mass, or access to puberty blockers, despite their own success. Despite the centrality of testosterone and puberty to their factual allegations, the relief sought by plaintiffs does not focus on hormones and puberty. Instead, plaintiffs seek sweeping relief preventing all girls who are transgender, whom the plaintiffs refer to as athletes born male with male bodies, regardless of the age at which they transitioned, whether they have had puberty blockers or hormone therapy, and whether they actually went through endogenous male puberty. And of course, the ACLU is defending the trans athletes. But this is Jesus Christ, man. Fucking disgusting, man.
Make fun of kids who are trans, who are struggling with this and don't know what to do with it.
This is a perfect example of a vibes-based argument. There is no real-world evidence of trans women having a competitive advantage over cis women, but because of vibes, it's now a biological fact. Well, I mean, even if they had a slight advantage, say the average trans woman, let's just for the purpose of argument, I'm now doing the debate thing. Oh, fuck. I'm lowering myself to their level. Just for the sake of argument, say that trans women on aggregate have a slight advantage in physical strength to all cis women. That's not what athletic competition is. Athletic competition is the elite of the elite. You know, and you could say there are differences between male sex and female sex. Everybody understands that. Nobody disputes that there's a difference between the male sex and the female sex. Testes exist, ovaries exist, uterus exists, prostate exists. We understand that there's a difference between sex. Sex exists in nature. Gender is not sex. Gender is social roles. Gender is expectations. Gender is presentation. Gender is separated from sex. Some of the roles of gender are associated with sexual reproduction and whatnot, but they are not necessary. To be a woman, you don't have to have a child. You're still a woman. Womanhood is not based on your fecundity. You know, it's not based on how many babies you pump out. It's a social role having to do with a constructed identity of gender. Everybody understands this. Everybody gets this. A woman who has a hysterectomy is still a woman. A woman who goes through menopause is still a woman, whether they've had children or not. So it's not based on this strict sexual role. If you're sterile, you're still a man. And the problem is that these transphobes now, because they don't want to engage with what gender actually is, have to start creating additional requirements to gender that didn't exist. They have to step up their oppression of cis women in order to justify their oppression of trans women. And what is the supposed harm here? What's the harm? If you're like, well, Mike, if someone's trans, that means that they won't be able to reproduce. Oh, why is that? Well, Mike, if you get hormones, it can damage your sexual reproduction. Well, the reason why so many people seek hormones is because of the dysphoric feelings they get, largely from society not accepting their gender. And so many people conform to the expectations of others, do voice training, get bottom and top surgery, because of dysphoria that can be externally caused. Not always, but can be. If people were allowed complete freedom in their gender expression, again, a construct, not based on physical sex, but on society's roles, maybe they would not feel the need to seek medical gender confirmation surgeries. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. By creating a hostile environment to people that are not within the strict binary, you actually necessitate more people seeking those therapies. And as far as those regret for therapies, it's some of the lowest regrets of all surgery. Did you know that, chat? Gender confirmation, gender affirmation surgeries have some of the lowest regret rates of all surgeries. Lower than knee replacements, lower than hip replacements, lower than almost any cosmetic procedure, lower than heart surgeries. That is how low the regret rate is. That is the reality. And yet we're sitting here talking about a supposed advantage in sports that doesn't manifest itself in actual elite success. We're not seeing every single medal won by a trans woman. We're not seeing every single competition dominated by trans women. We just aren't. It's not happening. But Mike, a trans woman somewhere won one competition. You know how many billions of competitions there happen every day, or every year rather? The fact that you cherry pick some competition to show, oh, a trans woman won it, therefore it's not fair, is truly fucking amazing. And as we just read earlier, it has nothing to do with muscle mass, nothing to do with testosterone levels, nothing to do with a measurable physical advantage. That's not what they're about. It's about vibes. It's about, ooh, does that feel like it's unfair? And they hope that you will be a dummy and fall for it. That's it. So you don't pay attention to the fact that what do conservatives want to do? Cut taxes on the rich, cut your social programs, cut the funding for education for you, make it so you can't afford a house, make it so you can't afford transportation, make it so your life is fucking miserable and your wages go down. That's what their actual mission is. Serve the interests of the capitalist class and suck up as much wealth and power from you that they can. And they use a distraction of transgender people, a tiny minority with no power, in order to effectuate that theft. And if you're too dumb to see it, you're too dumb to breathe. Conservatives want you to die. Do not ever think they will ever side with. Oh, absolutely. And like, here's a perfect example, chat. Katie Halper got fired from the Hill because she did a segment talking about Israel as an apartheid state. Katie Halper got fired. Where are all of the right-wing free speech advocates? And all she did was report on respected human rights organizations and their findings that Israel is an apartheid state. She didn't go out there with some sort of anti-Semitic screed. Yet she was fired for an opinion that's objectively true.
And now you have all these adults bullying them to no end and passing laws against them. But meanwhile, you put a gun to your girlfriend's head. You put a razor to the throat of one of your girlfriends. And they go, oh, that was 15 years ago, man. Hey, why don't you cut me a break, huh? Yeah, I was just threatening to murder her. So what, huh? Jesus forgives me. Oh, Jesus forgives you. Well, the exact answer to that is hell no.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, we did the Marjorie Taylor Greene story earlier on, and I agreed. I don't really care about divorce. But yeah, she is so fervent about marriage being between a man and a woman only. And Herschel Walker just steps that up a notch. Ignore the violence that I've waged against my wives, but because at least I'm of the right identity, right? At least I'm straight. At least I'm not transgender. At least I don't, this is what I don't understand. Like, I thought Jesus was about love. Sorry, I've never, I used to be religious for like a second when I was like 13. And then I think I went to the wrong sleepaway camp where they were like, if you're gay, you're not getting into heaven. And I was like, wait, what? Oh, super not into that. And then I just bounced and I was like, cool, I can actually listen to rock that isn't Christian rock now.
Yeah, look, so I don't believe in religion either. But if you believe in religion, you should actually try to read the Bible. Because even though I don't believe in religion, I can tell you that for the great majority of the Bible, Jesus is an unbelievably moral person. He's a wonderful person. He says, help the poor, help the needy. Give away all of your worldly belongings. Don't give in to greed. Go help others. Go wash the feet of the poor, of prostitutes, of people who are called immoral, etc. Have you ever read the Bible? Have you ever once picked it up in your life? Because if you did, there's probably a good reason why the people like Herschel Walker don't pick up the Bible. Because if they picked it up, they'd realize, oh, they're going straight to hell.
Yes.
So Herschel Walker is the epitome of what the Bible describes as an immoral person. But honestly, most of the right-wingers, they take the message of love, then they turn it into hate. They take the message of help the needy and they turn it into greed. And then they call it Christianity. If you're a Christian, you should be livid at the right wing in this country. because they're destroying your religion. They're taking a religion of love and turning it into hate and saying, hey, everybody, Christianity's about hate and greed. Jesus loved hate and greed. Let's go hate people, right? Well, okay. I mean, you twisted it into something that is unrecognizable, and it's disgusting. And it really is to people like Herschel Walker, the most immoral people in the country. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. I really appreciate it. Another way to show support.
Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap.